When was the last time you did something scary? When was the last time you did something that really stretched you because you had a dream or you had a goal, and the only way to make that actualize was to make yourself uncomfortable? Today, I'm going to talk about the power of being uncomfortable to make your dreams come true. Welcome to the next 24 hours, where I'm going to give you real information you can really use to transform your life and work one day at a time. I'll be your host, Curtis Zimmerman. Hello, everyone. It's Curtis again. I'm excited to spend a little time together. I hope you are living the dream today. And I want you to know that today we're going to talk about something that's going to be uncomfortable. Why? Because it's going to be about you getting uncomfortable. If you want to change and grow and become, you have to embrace getting uncomfortable. And I have some specific things I want to share with you about that, and some ways that when I was willing to get uncomfortable in my own little life as a little kid, how it really had a huge impact on my future. So you may have heard the story, you may have been at one of my programs, you may have read my book, but there's a story about a gentleman named Tommy McLaughlin, and he was a mime at Old Town Mall, and I used to roam around the mall, and I saw him, and he kind of took me under his wing, and for a couple years, I made $5 an hour at the mall, and it actually came out of his pay. And he never told me, and he never told anyone, because he was a real person and a giver and an amazing guy, and just gave away all of his gifts. But there's more to that story. And the more to the story is he also didn't stop there for me or everyone else he impacted. And what that means is he had studied with a gentleman named Richmond Shepard. Now, Richmond Shepard was the foremost mime in Los Angeles. He had a studio. He had about, I think, 5 or 6 different classes that were running all the time. And Richmond Shepard was somebody who studied with Marcel Marceau, somebody who worked with Marcel Marceau, who is the most famous mime of all time. And actors that wanted to have stage presence and wanted to move with intention used to take mime classes so they had better control of their body. So it was all adults, it was actors, it was dancers, there were ballerinas in the class, there were obviously mimes that wanted to go to mime school. And Tommy had trained me and taught me, and he realized he was going to be leaving and going and do the Dick Van Dyke and Company show. The Ant Company was the LA Mime Company. He was going to leave them all and go do that. And he said, Curtis, to go to the next level, what you need to do is you need to go take classes with Richmond Shepard. So finally, the next week came, and Tommy said, hey, great news. I talked to Richmond Shepard, and he said he's willing to give you a chance. He said, if you're not a little kid that's going to be running up and down the halls, and he knew I wasn't that kind of a kid. I was very focused on my art, and I really wanted to be a better performer. He said he's going to let you come in, take his classes. All you have to do is know, here's the starting date and here's the finish date, and it's $350. Well, I had absolutely no money. Again, I worked 2 or 3, 4 hours on the weekend, and I made $5 an hour thanks to Tommy out of his pay. But still, that was only, $15, $20 a week. So there's no way I was going to be able to make that leap to $350 for a mime class. But I said, you know what? I'm going to just call anyway. I'm going to talk to Richmond and see if I can somehow figure it out. Well, the great thing about it was I didn't know it then, but he and Tommy were very good friends. So what he told me was this. He said, Curtis, I'll tell you what. I'll let you come and take the classes. The first week, you'll be on probation. If you're able to come in, do what I ask, and work with the adults and not be a distraction, I'll let you stay. As far as the money part goes, Tommy's explained to me you don't really have the cash right now. So what I would say is as we move forward and as you get little gigs, and I'm going to hopefully be able to send you on some little mime jobs over the next year or so, go ahead and just pay what you can as we go, and you can pay in payments the $350. So it was like a dream come true. All of a sudden, I had the opportunity to go and take classes with the foremost mime in LA, Richmond Shepard. It's like he had a book, and it was crazy. I was so excited. And then I talked to my mom about driving me from Torrance, California, where we lived, Lawndale actually, all the way down to like Century City, all the way down to downtown LA. And it was going to be anywhere from a 35, 45, 50-minute drive up to a 2-hour drive, depending on the traffic. The weird thing about LA is you can leave at one time, but you never know with traffic what time you're going to arrive on the other end. So basically, mime class, I believe, started like at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, which means in the morning, you're right in the middle of all the traffic. That's when everybody's trying to get somewhere. My mother realized that if she drove me, by the time she got there, dropped me off, drove back home, she'd have to turn around and drive all the way back to get me because the class ended like at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So there really was the commitment Monday through Friday, basically all summer, she was going to have to drive and just be sitting waiting for me while I took class. That was not a reality. That was not going to happen. So I was pretty shattered. I was pretty upset. And I called back Richmond and told him that, I really appreciated it. I appreciated the opportunity. I really have no way to get there. And he said, well, listen, Curtis, here's the story. I have like 17 different people that are signed up for the class right now. What I'm willing to do is I will give you a list of all of their names and all of their phone numbers, and you can call them and see if any of them live near you. And if they do, maybe they would be willing to give you a ride so you could still take that mime class. You could still come and join us and learn from me. So that's what happened. He got me the names. He got me all those phone numbers. And then I sat with our rotary phone and I just was sitting there staring at the names, staring at the numbers and thinking, I don't know these people. I don't know who these people are. And this is where that part of you, I want you to think about now. This part of you that, when was the last time you were sitting in front of a list of names, a list of phone numbers, a list of people you could contact that it was scary? You didn't know them. You wanted their help. You were going to ask for a favor, even though they don't know you. But in order for your dream to come true, in order for you to go to the next level, you had to sit and start making those calls. And that was my place, just like you. That was my place. I was sitting there. I'm 13, 14 years old and sitting there thinking, am I going to spend all summer sitting around doing nothing, or am I going to make this happen? And I started dialing. And I started dialing. Hi, my name is Curtis, and I'm 13, and I want to take class with Richmond. I know you're signed up. Where do you live? And most people lived nowhere near me. Most people did not live. I lived in the South Bay area. Most people did not live in the South Bay area where I grew up. So they were already out, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I live in Century City. I live over here. I live over there. So it would be way out of their way to drive and get me. But finally, I believe it was the last or the second to the last call. I made the call and I called somebody and her name was Millie Dill. And Millie Dill, just such a great name. I love it. But Millie Dill was a young lady who was very excited about the arts and very excited about mime and all things performance. And it was such a beautiful thing because she said, wow, where do you live exactly? And I told her, and she lived only 10 minutes from me. 10 minutes from me. She was already signed up. She was going to take the class. She was driving by herself. And I said, listen, if there's any way in the world you could swing by and pick me up, I'll give you $5 a week for gas. Now, for me, that was a please pick me up. But also, I was going to give something of value, my $5, which for me was a lot of money. And she said, absolutely, let's make that happen. So sure enough, I called Richmond. I couldn't believe it. I got a ride. I'm on it. I'm going. And that's how my relationship with Millie Dill began. And Millie Dill and I became fast friends. And I got in the car and I got to know her and we talked about life and we talked about her life and her struggles. I told her what I was about and I told her all about Tommy and Old Town Mall. And it just was this amazing thing that happened. And we ended up going to class. She drove me, but also sometimes in the evening, class would end at 3:30, and then she wanted to stay because there was a performance somewhere. She wanted to stay downtown because there were going to be a mime festival for 3 days. And she said, you know what? I can't drive you home. So that was like perfect for me because I could tell my mom, either you can come and get me or you can let me stay and go to this festival, go to this experience with Millie Dill, and then she'll drop me off later. So many a time I'd leave at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I wouldn't get home till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. All day being around people influencing me, being around people that were into the arts, being around these amazing performers. Millie and I became such close friends that we got to really talk about what we hated. And what we hated was we hated stretching. So every mime class started in the morning with something called inclinations and rotations, which basically was kind of like yoga, where you had to move your arm out in a certain way, move your leg a certain way, and you'd have to hold these poses. And Richmond Shepard would get you in this awkward pose and the phone would ring and he'd walk over and talk on the phone for 2 minutes while you're kind of balancing on one foot, hating your life. So she and I did not like the stretching. So oftentimes she would pick me up and we would go to McDonald's, eat breakfast, and then show up after the stretching. And, our excuse was the traffic or whatever, but such great fond memories. And none of those things would have happened if I had first said $350, there's no reason to call Richmond Shepard. I don't have that money. Secondly, when I was giving the task of here are 17 names, I could have said, that feels awkward. There's no way I'm not calling. I would have stopped right there. The last thing is when I was handed off, my mom met Millie the first time and got in her car, all of those were little challenges to try to make my reality come to life in my real life. And I've never forgotten that. And Millie Dill and I, when we finished mime school, we actually did probably 15 or 20 performances together. We did some schools together. We did some festivals together where we put a whole show together. And I got to know her husband. And she was such a great influence. And I'll never be able to thank her enough for being the person that answered the call and said, yes, you know what? I'll be glad to give you a ride. I just want to reflect that back to you with this. How many people ask you for a favor? In your week, how many people ask you for a favor? Big favor, small favor, whatever it is. And you, whoever's listening, I have a feeling you're the kind of person that says, oh, absolutely, I can do that. Oh, sure, I can take care of that. Oh, I would love to. That's no problem whatsoever. And I'm telling you right now, in order for your dreams to come true, in order for the next chapter of your life to unfold the way you want, sometimes you have to ask others for a favor. Think about the gift. Think about the way you feel when somebody asks you for a favor and you deliver. It's like a gift. You're giving a gift. And if you're too afraid to ask other people for help, you're denying them that gift. I really want you to think about that. Search your heart right now. What is it that if you are willing to ask people to help you do, that your life could improve? Go ask. Get that list of 17 people and start calling. I want you to know that the next 24 hours of your life can be different than the last 24 hours of your life. But you have to be the one that's willing to get a little bit uncomfortable. Well, it's time for that 24-hour challenge, my favorite part of this podcast. And here it is. In the next 24 hours, I want you to pick one person that you're going to call, email, or talk to directly and ask for a favor. You're going to ask them for a favor. Something can be as large as, hey, I need help to figure out how to write my first book, to something as small as, hey, I'm going to be out of town and I need someone to make sure my trash bins go out to the end of the curb or somebody to pick up my mail while I'm gone. But I want you to pick one person right now and in the next 24 hours, go ask them for help. But more importantly, I want you to think about the way you felt before you asked them for help and then the way you felt afterwards. Because the takeaway is I want this to be a new muscle that you're developing. I want you to realize it's okay to ask other people for favors. It's okay to go out of your way to help other people as well. Go do it today and watch the next 24 hours change your life forever. Hey, thank you for listening to The Next 24 Hours. It would mean a lot to me if you found this content today valuable, that you share it with your friends. Leave me a review. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to learn more about what I do, it's really simple. Just go to curtiszimmerman.com. Remember, in order to live the dream, you have to make the next 24 hours count. The clock is ticking.